Chapter 10. The Pluralized I. The organism of the tricerebrated biped, mistakenly called a human being, is a precious machine with 5 marvelous psychological centers. The order of these centers is as follows: intellectual, emotional, motor, instinctual, and sexual. Each of these 5 centers penetrates the entire organism. Nonetheless, if one self-observes profoundly, one becomes aware that each basic point situated at a specific area of our organic machine. The center of gravity of the intellect is found in the brain. The center of gravity of emotions is situated in the solar plexus. The center of gravity of emotions, or rather movement, is situated in the superior part of the dorsal spine. The center of gravity of instinct is found in the inferior part of the dorsal spine. The center of gravity of sex clearly has its roots in the sexual organs. Each one of the centers of the machine has absolutely defined specific functions. And an in-depth study of the 5 centers allows us to comprehend that different speeds exist amongst them. This has already been proven. Students of pseudo-occultism and pseudo-esotericism believe that the center of thought is extraordinarily fast. However, they are lamentably mistaken because the motor and instinctual centers are 30,000 times faster. We have been told that the emotional center is still faster than the motor and instinctual centers. Great sages affirm that the emotional center is indeed 30,000 times faster than the motor and instinctual centers. The specific functions of each center point to certain dualisms in each center, as the dualism of the mind, with its incessant battle of antithesis, dividing thoughts; the dualism of emotions, splitting them into pleasant and unpleasant emotions; the dualism of instinctual sensations, splitting them into pleasure and pain; the dualism of sexuality, splitting them into attraction and repulsion of sex, etc. Without a doubt, each one of the 5 centers is, at the same time, positive and negative. All of the 5 centers, or 5 cylinders of the human machine, are fundamental for life. But without a doubt, the sexual center, the 5th center, is indeed the most important, and the fastest of our existence are found within the latter. The sexual center, because of its fine energy, is extraordinarily subtle and fast. The majority of its manifestations take place on a molecular level, where its impulses are transmitted thousands of times faster than those of the mind. The idea of love at first sight, if indeed it occurs in certain cases, is based on the concrete fact that at any given moment, the sexual function can instantaneously know if a sexual affinity with a certain person of the opposite sex can or cannot exist. Indeed, the search for our sexual complement occurs in each function of our human organism. The sense of attraction, or indifference, or repulsion between a man and a woman is the outcome of a highly complicated calculation of the existing factors of reciprocity of each of its functions, and of the average or total function of all of those factors together. Fortunately, such a complex and difficult calculation can never be performed by the intellectual center, but only by the sexual center. This center can attain a correct result in a second or even less. Infinite possibilities exist within the sexual center when it is developed that can either convert us into angels or devils. The 5th center possesses a certain electronic solar fire that, when wisely awakened, can transform us radically. In ancient times, due to a certain mistake performed by some sacred individuals, humanity developed the negative side of the sexual center, its tenebrous luciferic aspect. When the electronic sexual fire is directed downwards into the atomic infernos of the human being, it becomes the abominable Kundartiguar organ. Kundartiguar organ, the tail of Satan. Fortunately, after its development, such luciferic organ vanished from humanity. Nevertheless, its fatal consequences still remain. It is urgent to know that the disastrous consequences of the abominable Kundartiguar organ remained deposited within the 5 cylinders of the human machine. It is indispensable to know that the evil consequences of the abominable Kundartiguar organ constitute the lunar ego, the pluralized I. Lamentably, the 5 psychological centers of the intellectual beast, mistakenly called human being, are absolutely controlled by that legion of devil eyes, or samskaras in Buddhism, skandhas, defects that every person carries within. It is painful to know that the soul, the buddhata, the essence that we carry inside, is bottled up within the lunar ego. The incorrect function of the 5 psychological centers of the human machine is due to the pernicious activities of the pluralized I. These are all the evil consequences of the abominable Kundabuffer organ, another term for it, which is easier to pronounce. It is urgent to dissolve the pluralized I in order to liberate the essence, the buddhata, the embryo of soul, the psychic material. Those who have never, in any of their lives, preoccupied themselves with the dissolution of their pluralized I, those who have never by any means wanted to terminate the evil consequences of the abominable Kundabuffer organ, will have to enter into the infernal worlds when their cycle of lives concludes at the end of their journey, when their cycle of human evolution has exhausted after approximately 108 lives. The entrance of the failures into the submerged mineral kingdom is indispensable for the dissolution of the pluralized I, within which, unfortunately, the essence, the soul is bottled up. The lunar ego, that conjunction of distinct and diverse entities that travel in an independent way through the suprasensible worlds, is hidden within the lunar bodies. The terrible and painful devolution of the pluralized I, with their lunar protoplasmic bodies in the infernal worlds, is a fall, descending backwards towards the original primitive chaos. The devolution descends from the animal, plant, and mineral steps. On the last rung of the ladder, the fossilized lunar egos are reduced to cosmic dust. This is the second death. The absolute destruction of the pluralized I and its lunar vehicles is indispensable for the liberation of the essence. This lunar race, this perverse Adamic race, is entering into the infernal devolution through successive cataclysms. Wars, hurricanes, sicknesses, fires, inundations, and earthquakes will terminate this lunar race. The appropriate second death is through the great work.